This is the 12th part video, titled, He Finds a Notebook of Experience and Can Experience Anything He Writes. Please do watch all the previous parts to enjoy this video. Jong Suk had agreed to bring Kayode and her book to Bottengout. In the white van, the gorgeous blonde woman and Jong Suk were sitting while facing each other. Jong Suk asked, why is she not hiding her face? Isn't she afraid of getting exposed? The blonde woman smirked and replied she didn't have to, because they are not going back alive anyway. She curiously asked, she surely shot him in the head, so how did he survive? Jong Suk replied, he just concentrated his experience and deflected the bullet. The blonde woman was intrigued by the word experience. She asked if this was the ability of the Book of Experience. Jong Suk nodded in agreement. The blonde woman was amused. She was now interested in the book. They were at an abandoned fort. It had several steps leading to a big mansion at the top. The woman said to Jong Suk, they are here. She told her men to bring Kayode with them. The masked man was trying to take Kayode, but Jong Suk told him not to touch her. Kayode was half conscious. Jong Suk said he will release her blocked blood vessel so she shouldn't make a fuss. As soon as Jong Suk released her, Kayode jumped on Jong Suk, cursing at him. She was pulling his collar, but Jong Suk told her to calm down. He whispered her to trust him this one time and wait until he gives her the signal. Kayode seemed to agree. The blonde woman was walking them inside the fort along with the masked men. There were thousands and thousands of books inside the huge mansion. The bookshelves were large enough to reach the unbelievably high ceiling. Jong Suk and Kayode were amazed to be in this environment. Two human figures could be seen up above the staircase. It was Bottengout and his assistant. He greeted them and said they must have faced hard time to come all the way here. Jong Suk immediately asked, where is Sumi? Botten gave a slight smile and said he was not done with the greetings and yet they are in such a hurry. He looked at Jong Suk and Kayode. He called them two young writers. He continued and said they remind him of himself when he first got the Book of Experience. Jong Suk interrupted again and said, didn't he wanted to negotiate? Botten said, that's right. The assistant told his men to bring her in. Jong Suk looked above the staircase. It was Jin Sumi. She was being held by two masked men. She called for Jong Suk. Jong Suk asked if she is okay. Sumi replied she is fine, but clearly she wasn't. Jong Suk apologized to her for her to be going through all this trouble. He said he will definitely save her. Botten spoke in between. He said that's enough for their tearful reunion and tells them to start the negotiation. He asked if he can state his terms before he hear their proposal. Jong Suk asked him to speak. Botten said he won't kill him. He will even give his girlfriend back to him. However, he wants Jong Suk to work for him. Jong Suk didn't understand. The assistant was also in shock. But Botten continued. He said he likes Jong Suk. Looking at him, he gets reminded of himself when he got the Book of Experience for first time. Born in a poor family, a bookworm who only liked to read books. He said Jong Suk is similar as himself. He added, thanks to the Book of Experience, he was able to experience many things. He gained the experience of Heron from the ancient Greece. He also gained experience from Leonardo da Vinci. He made many inventions through the knowledge of the Book of Experience, and because of that, it enriched the human civilization in 20th century. Baton rose his hand as he said with a proud voice, I am the savior of this mankind. He added, only knowledge could develop mankind. Jong Suk was looking at him. He could remember the mad doctor. Botten looked at Sumi and asked Jong Suk, is she precious to you? Jong Suk replied, yes. Botten asked with a cheeky smile, do you love her? Jong Suk looked at Sumi and said, yes, more than my life. Botten gave an evil laugh. He said he was funny. Love is only a temporary taste for ethnic reproduction. He said he has read all the love experience written inside his book. But, strangely, it was the only experience he couldn't gain. Jong Suk instantly said he was not surprised by it. Botten looked at Jong Suk and said he couldn't love anyone. In the process of trying numerous studies and inventions, his body was unable to make a descendant. So being unable to have a child made him more inclined to the Book of Experience. He got addicted to it. Eventually, he acquired all the knowledge of the Book of Experience. And now, he was no longer interested in any book, because he knew all their stories. This led him in search of other books of experience. Unexpectedly, it was not hard to search for the writers of the Book of Experience. Using his intelligence, he tracked down other 5 books of experience. Jong Suk was furious and asked if he killed all the other writers and took their books. Botten spoke shamelessly, isn't that obvious? The Book of Experience doesn't accept new writer unless the old one dies. Kayode was angry at him. She couldn't control it. Botten said he had taken a lot of time and makes his conclusion. He immediately said, be my successor. He added he had read and met the experiences of countless writers so far. But no one has ever gained so much experience in short time as Jong Suk. He continued, he thinks Jong Suk will be the person to lead the development of mankind after him. Jong Suk had listened to everything. He asked, what will he do to Kayode? Botan replied, an ordinary writer would take a lifetime to read all the experiences from the single book of experience. But he can read the entirety in just 10 years. Also, he is not young enough, so maybe it will take another 10 years. He can read all the experience from Kayode's book while grooming Jong Suk as his successor. He added, once he dies, he will hand over his book to him. He can get all the books of experience for himself. Jong Suk smiled at him and said, it is indeed a very tempting suggestion. Botan was smiling too. But, Jong Suk said, still, he will have to say no. Botan was shocked to hear it. He was furious at Jong Suk. His hands were making a fist. He asked him why. The humanity has evolved thanks to these books. The writer of the book of experience has a duty to lead the future of mankind. Jong Suk interrupted. His body was covering in a golden aura. He said, you may have gained knowledge from the book of experience, but you didn't gain any wisdom. Jong Suk's eyes were glowing, and his body was saturating with immense energy. He released all that energy all at once. The energy collided with the walls, shattering the glasses and windows. Jong Suk continued and said, protecting the people precious to you. Someone who doesn't know what that feels don't deserve the book of experience. Jong Suk's aura was covering his entire body. The surrounding was trembling to his energy waves. He forced his energy to his feet and jumped at full force. Botan was watching him, charging at him. But, suddenly, Jong Suk changed his course and punched the man holding Sumi. With the sudden attack, the other guy tried to punch him. But, Jong Suk was too fast for his mundane attacks. Jong Suk gave him a kick and sent him flying, penetrating inside the opposite wall. The gorgeous blonde woman was firing at Jong Suk with incredible speed and precision. Still, Jong Suk was able to dodge them. Kayode jumped on the blonde woman. The woman tried to shoot her, but Kayode was not any ordinary human anymore. She made a quick distance and ran past her. She jumped on her and launched a powerful kick. The woman blocked it by her elbow, but Kayode was not finished. He took her elbow as her support and twisted in the air, kicking her other hand, holding the gun. The blonde woman had lost her gun, but that was not enough. Just when Kayode was about to land, a powerful kick was about to land on her face. She immediately blocked it with her hands, but the force sent her rolling back. Suddenly, they heard someone saying gong gong. Jong Suk was on the blonde woman. He was covered in his wind energy. Jong Suk's kick made a crashing blast in the middle of the floor. When the smoke cleared, he was nowhere. The blonde woman had managed to avoid the direct attack. Botan was silent. He ordered them to find him and kill him. He doesn't care anymore. The masked men were searching for them all over the mansion. They were looking in the bookshelves. Kayode was hiding on top of the bookshelf. She thought, good thing that she got the ninja experience. The camera surveillance room was looking for them. They had located Sumi in Zone B. Blonde woman quickly ordered them to look in Zone B. As one of the masked man was near Zone B, he saw Sumi hiding near the shelf. The blonde woman ordered to report the situation, but she heard Jong Suk. He said, your subordinate had a blood clot and can't speak at the moment. She was stunned. Jong Suk added, if he doesn't release him, he will live like a vegetable forever. The masked guy was trembling and mute. Jong Suk knew he was being watched. He said, are you listening, collector? He added, he won't run or hide anymore. Your experience will. Jong Suk took the gun and said, and today. He shoots at the camera and it went blank. Botan was watching everything. He said, it was a good move, Jong Suk. He was holding his book of experience. As he wrote, he said, but can you overcome my 100 years of experience? The book glowed violently. The assistant was scared to his wits. Botan shouted furiously, let me show you the man who lead humanity. His body was turning blue. He added, he will show him what a real fight looks like. The hairs of Botan were dancing crazily. No one could even imagine what he has been transformed into. Meanwhile, the masked men were falling one by one. Kayode strangled one of the masked men with her strength. He knocked him unconscious. She was nervous. She took his knife. The blonde woman was looking for the weapon in the armory. She was going to pick a katana, but suddenly Kayode shouted, don't touch my father's belongings with those dirty hands. It was her dad's katana. The blonde woman was surprised as she said, you are still alive. Kayode was holding two blades which were tied together with a rope. She held it firmly and said she had killed all her subordinates. It was now time for them to face each other. The blonde woman unsheathed her sword and said, in Japan, there's a saying that when you kill someone with a sword, the spirit of the dead will dwell in that sword. The sword filled with the blood becomes a monster. Is it called Yodo? Yodo, where the spirit of the dead resides with their thirst for blood. It is said that one who holds the hilt will turn into a murderer. The blonde woman dashes forward and said, "Now, shall we find out what kind of curse will reside on your father's sword once it contain his own daughter's blood?" Kayode threw her rope knife, but the woman deflected it with her blade. Kayode pulled her rope as her knife returned to her. The blonde woman was already on her. Their fierce battle had begun. Kayode jumped back to make a distance. She couldn't use her rope knife in close range. She threw her knives at full speed. Still, the blonde woman was more skilled than her. Kayode kept her distance and launched her attacks again and again. But the blonde woman was dodging every attacks. She shouted, "Just as Yodo uses humans to taste more blood, the Book of Experience is using humans to taste more experience." Just when the blonde woman was about to thrust her blade, Kayode jumped high and dodged it. She yelled, "At least, she can't stand her taste of blood." Using her blades, she spanned in the air. She shouted, "If she can avenge her father, she will gladly become a Yodo who collects her blood." Kayode had a determination in her eyes. Meanwhile, Jong Suk sneaked inside a room. He met with two men. They were wearing the armored exoskeleton. He knew the fight was inevitable. The next second, both of them were on Jong Suk. Jong Suk had covered himself in his wind energy. With his speed, he quickly dodged the incoming attacks and was already under the armored man. He stopped with a twist and gathered his energy. A heavy blow fell on the armored man. It was so powerful that his back went out with a blast. He was finished. Suddenly, he caught a spear which was aimed at him. Surging electricity shot from it. Intense electric shock covered Jong Suk's whole body. Still, he was unaffected by it. Jong Suk pulled the spear and caught the skeleton guy with the same electric hand. Kayode and the blonde woman were facing each other with their all-out strength. Kayode was on the losing end. The attacks of blonde woman were quick and heavy. Her strength was unimaginable. Kayode could only save herself from a quick death. She deflected herself with a quick motion. In that instance, she grabbed onto her blade and threw it on the blonde woman. The blonde woman was even faster. She caught the rope and severed it, marking it as an end for her enemy. She said, "She has been killing for years. She will become the writer of the Book of Experience." She dashed on Kayode. Kayode hit her back to the table. She saw her father's katana. The blonde woman was already on her. Kayode had her killing intent filled within her eyes. They were glowing with rage. She grabbed the hilt of the katana. With a sudden flash, she had passed the blonde woman. The blonde woman didn't even realize what had happened. The crimson-red blood shot from her body. She had been cut by Kayode. With a thud, she fell over on the floor. Kayode picked up her sword. Over another side, Jong Suk was before his enemy. He asked, "Did you use your power?" Gout had turned blue. He said, "Yes. This was the power of Shiva, the first writer of the Book of Experience." Jong Suk didn't understand. Gout said, "Shiva is the god of destruction. He is the most powerful god in Hinduism." Jong Suk was furious. He questioned, "Why are humans trying to become a god?" Gout was fully transformed into Lord Shiva. He was holding a mighty trident and was already on Jong Suk. Jong Suk dodged it. Still, the shock waves of the attack had destroyed half of the floor. Laughed as he yelled to Jong Suk, "Do you think you can defeat Shiva, the god of destruction?" Jong Suk was still fighting the first attack. He was sent flying over a distance. The floor was breaking down by the unimaginable power of Botan used his power again. This time, Jong Suk didn't even have a floor to land. With a devastating force, he fell to the next floor. He was seriously injured by the heavy fall, but he was still alive. Botan was watching him with a grin. He said, "You're pretty good," as Jong Suk was the first to endure his attacks for this long. He looked at Jong Suk and asked again, "Will you become my successor?" Jong Suk was facing trouble getting up. Botan added, "If he agrees, everything he has will become his." Jong Suk gritted his teeth as he said, "If at the end, after being fascinated by the power of the Book of Experience, if he is to become someone like him, then he will gladly give up being the writer of the book." Botan gave an evil laugh and said, "Unfortunately, the only way to quit being a writer is to die." He aimed his trident at Jong Suk and said, "Die, Lee Jong Suk." He added, "After he kills him and becomes the next writer of his book, he will read all his experience and find all the people listed in it. He will destroy them all." Suddenly, Kayode spoke, "You are the one who will be destroyed." A heavy slash of her sword fell on Botan's back. Botan gave out a loud scream. Kayode was holding two blades. She threw the another to Lee Jong Suk. Jong Suk caught the sword. He was standing on his feet again. Botan released a powerful attack. Both Jong Suk and Kayode blocked it. They were sent flying by the force. Kayode asked if the blue old man was the collector. Jong Suk nodded in agreement. He looked at Gout and said, "That's the power of his Book of Experience." Botan had grown stronger tremendously. He spoke with a piercing gaze. "Accept it. The experience that the mankind has accumulated so far cannot be overcome." He launched his attack again and said, "Submit to the power of God." A massive explosion covered the entire floor again. Jong Suk and Kayode were forced to jump in different directions. Botan continued, "Give me your book of experience. I will devour all the insignificant experiences you have recorded." Kayode had managed to survive. She had heard him say insignificant. She remembered her father's assistant giving her the book of experience. She had took the book and read her father's experience. As the book glowed, she was shown her birth and her mother, the moment when she lost her mother, and when her father was consoling her. Her rage was increasing. She tightened her grip and dashed towards Botan with fury. Her energy was covering her whole body. With a loud noise, her sword clashed with the trident of Botan. A sonorous clashing sound resounded on the floor. It was a powerful clash. Pushing her back, Botan grabbed on Kayode's collar and thrashed her on the ground. In that moment, Jong Suk had already pierced his sword in Botan's chest. With a loud scream, Botan gave out an energy blast. Blood started pouring from his injury. By the sudden force, Kayode was thrown to a distance. Jong Suk grabbed her and saved her from falling again. Botan was in agony. He screamed at Jong Suk. His power was increasing and his whole body was covered in aura. The ground was shaking heavily. Jong Suk got Kayode up and told her to fight with him. Kayode was ready. They both grabbed onto the black katana. Filled with immense power, Botan launched an attack with an incredible power. It took the floor trembling and cutting through the air. It clashed with the black sword. Jong Suk and Kayode were holding it. Botan was cursing and laughing at their pointless attempt. But a sudden surprised expression appeared on his face. He could see people. No, they were writers. They were empowering them. Kayode's father gave his power to the sword. Kayode could feel it. An insanely powerful energy surged towards Botan. It consumed all his energy entirely. Botan was stunned. He couldn't believe it. Still, he was not going to give up. This was not enough to defeat him. Suddenly, Kayode jumped over with the black sword. She pushed her sword inside Botan's body. Jong Suk was ready with his own hands. Botan tried to block it with his trident. But when Jong Suk clashed with it, it broke into pieces. With a flash, Jong Suk landed a devastating blow on Botan. Shards of stone were flying all over the place. Jong Suk said, "You, who only gained knowledge and abilities through this long years, can never defeat us." Botan was crushed by the blow. He had lost all his power and transformed back to his old body. Jong Suk and Kayode had finally defeated Botan Gout. Botan, who was covered in pool of blood, whispered, "Is this the will of the book?" Jong Suk replied calmly. He said, "You should have thought more carefully why the book called us writers rather than readers. The reason why the book starts with a blank page. The book of experience wanted us to go beyond reading information from the past, but instead wanted us to record our experiences for the future." He added, "Possibility is the greatest weapon mankind has." Botan tried to say with his dying breath, "Will you?" Finally, Jong Suk, Sumi, and Kayode were outside of the mansion. Sumi asked with hesitation, "Is it over now?" Jong Suk replied, "Yes, it's finally all over." Sumi didn't know what had happened for past few days. Jong Suk said, "He will explain everything later." Kayode gave Jong Suk his experience book. Also, she gave him the experience book of the collector. Jong Suk asked about the other experience books, which the collector took from other 4 writers. Kayode replied, "Maybe when the collector died, they had been lost their scribe." Just when Jong Suk was thinking, the 2 books glowed and turned into sparkling petals. The glowing petals flew over and merged together. They merged into a new book of experience. Jong Suk realized the collector must have been combining all other experience books into his own experience book. Kayode asked, "What is he going to do?" Jong Suk thought for a second and said, "Firstly, he will take Sumi to Hollywood." He asked what she will do. Kayode replied, "She wants to know what kind of life her father had experienced." Jong Suk smiled and gave her a good luck. He moved his hand forward and said, "Let's meet again." Kayode did the same. They made a handshake, hoping to meet again in future. Jong Suk had won against his powerful enemy. He had got a new experience book. What adventures are waiting for him? Will he experience a new life? Let's find out in the next part of the series. The link will be updated soon in the description. Join the fun. If you are someone who loves reading manhwa and animes, subscribe now and join us in our journey. Also, get notified for new manhwa updates and hidden gems. Thank you for watching this video and see you again.